All right. Welcome to Revealing Life's Mysteries, Uncovering Hidden Meanings. I love this because I talk about it on a daily, but I feel like when you put it together like this in a presentation, it's so much better because you can visualize it, you can see it, you can get ahas, you can get revelations, whatever it's just that is what a revelation is. It's revealing something to you. And so we are revealing certain layers of life that connect everything together because we are all part of one thing. And so we are still connected. And so we are just connecting those dots to see what the common denominator is for the most part. And what is life all about? Like, why do we even have these mysteries? So super exciting within itself. Any questions before we begin? Oops, I can't see you. Nope. Okay. Let me share my da da da. All right. Oh, Larry's here. Admit. Oh, cool, cool. Larry.
Hey, Larry. Oh my goodness, long time no see.
Hey,
Great to
how are
see
you?
you.
I was about to start and I said, Larry's here.
How is it going?
Good, good. We've missed you for quite some time, so we have some catching up to do later on.
Yes, well, my course and everything's been going on same time as you guys are on, so
Man,
Well, so happy that you were able to make this one. So yay, welcome.
yes, yes.
thank you, thank you,
Um,
thank you.
so I was just telling them that this is pretty much for us. So feel free to ask questions, have any comments, concerns, whatever it is that comes to you. Just this is about revealing what mysteries are in life, and we're just going to start uncovering all these layers, bit by bit. So let's begin. Or does anybody have anything to say about just this slide by itself? Like why did I put all these hidden layers, or not hidden, but you know what I'm saying? Why did I put all these things on here? Like are you starting to get some ideas? Or I mean, you guys can unmute yourselves also so that you can scream whenever you want to if you feel like it. Um but if you see anything that just makes sense or your eyes are just going towards it, um
The light spectrum and how everything relates to our seven chakras. That's
okay.
what and and I'm so excited because I know little bits and pieces of a couple of the things that are showing on the screen. So I can't wait for everybody to like get to see it too.
Okay. Okay. So, welcome to the occult workshop. Occult is a word that has been a taboo word for a long time. And when I say a long time, it's because of the dark ages, and the dark as in the hidden, the lower consciousness, not the time of information like now where we have light and information everywhere at our hands. And so therefore, nothing really is hidden anymore. But yet the word is still a taboo subject. So occult is from the word secret, not divulged, from French occulte, and directly from Latin occultus. So it's hidden, concealed, secret. Again, oculus, an eye, hidden from the eye. And how do we do that? How do we hide things from the eye? In plain sight. And so I was explaining this. Who was I explaining? To my mother. And I'm going to explain it to you guys. So the visual that I was explaining, I said, Mom, you could be right here and I can tell you, look, there's something right here in front of you. And she's going to go, where? What do you mean? No, there's nothing there. I see it. It's right here. You not see it? It's right here. And this is her. She can't see it. It's not until that eye is open that she is able to then see what has always been there. And that continues in so many layers along our evolution, because even though some of us can see visually that way or have enhanced that muscle, that doesn't mean we could still see more, like beyond that. There's always so many more layers of things we can see. And so when things are hidden in plain sight, it's a way for us to be able to, how do I put this? It's like a treasure hunt. Where's the best way to hide the treasure? You put it in plain sight where no one would ever think of finding it. And that is the whole key here, because we're going to start looking at all the stories and we're going to start seeing how it's in our face. It's in plain sight. It's not until we start to have that awareness. And when I say the third eye, the oculus, the single eye, we are talking about the pineal gland, which is just our third eye. It is in the shape of an eye. And so that's why they call it the third eye, but it's more about where we use our imagination or where we visualize things. If I say think of a gray elephant, you're going to think of a gray elephant, and you're not seeing a gray elephant with your physical eyes, but you are visualizing the gray elephant. And that is what you're using the third one for. So a lot of us don't get to practice that, and therefore we lose it and can only see with our two eyes. So let's get started. Stories, myths, fairy tales. And we're going to look at the common denominator: Snow White, Cinderella, Little Red Riding Hood, Jack and the Beanstalk. And I'm not going to cover a lot of it unless you guys want me to, because I do have the book and I can read parts from the book. But it's whatever you guys want. So the story is one, but it's yet many. And this is the story we hear our entire lives. Good and evil. There's the hero and the villain. In every single story, there's a hero and a villain. Every single one. Name it, there is one. Name the story, there's always a hero and a villain. And that is representing the duality in this dimension, the duality in our lives. The good and the bad, right? The yin and the yang. And so we're going to start looking at that, because before, in fairy tales, nursery rhymes, mythologies, gospels, religions, each culture has their own stories, and it's yet still part of that same one story. So we're going to start looking at that one story, which is the story of the sun, which is always going direct, has always been the one common origin throughout. And we're going to start breaking it down, starting with Snow White. So Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Now, think about, why do we share these fairy tales, these nursery rhymes, these stories for years and years and years and years, like the same ones, right? They repeat the same ones. It's just a new version of it, but it's always the same thing. Like, your grandmother's grandmother heard about Snow White, and your kids have heard about Snow White. And that's just one of those stories that you ask yourself, why? Like, there's so many stories, but why is this something that has been on and on forever and ever? Same thing with Cinderella. Like, why certain ones are classic? We ask ourselves that. So we start looking at the symbolism behind it. Snow White. White is the symbol of purity. It is the symbol of spirituality, of your spirit, as far as our fourfold nature. And she's as white as snow. So she is pure white magnetism. This white magnetism is this pure light that has not yet entered into the physical, because once it enters into the physical, it then manifests into magnetic and dielectric, and it becomes this magnetic and electric world of electromagnetism. But outside of the electric world that we see with our two eyes, outside of the 7 colors of the light spectrum that we can see with our two eyes, there's more colors. There's things we cannot imagine or see because we only see a sliver, a real small percentage of what is really out there. What's real. We only see a version of that. I know you were trying to look at that. So that is smell, sight, thought, hearing, taste, and touch. So those are our senses. So we have differentiated the light into the 7 colors of the light spectrum. And so Snow White and the 7 dwarfs and all these senses. And so you can tell because they each represent a certain mood, a certain type, a certain archetype, a certain type of character. And so this classic story is basically all about light and how to raise our consciousness through these frequencies of energy because every light color is a certain frequency. Any questions about Snow White? You guys can shake your head no, so I know too. Okay. Cinderella. Cinderella represents the dawn. The prince is the sun, ever seeking to make the dawn his bride. The envious stepmother and sisters are the clouds and the night, which strive to keep the dawn and the sun apart. So this is from Tales, their origin and meaning with some accounts of dwellers in fairyland. It's Fairy Tales book that has a bunch of information on pretty much every myth and every fairy tale on everything. Okay. So
Post that book in the comments later, Joanna, please.
yeah. Mhm.
Awesome, thank you.
I wanted to read just a part from Cinderella from here, just so that you guys see. Same Cinderella. Okay, it's the story of the sun and the dawn. Cinderella, gray and dark and dull, is all neglected when she's away from the sun, obscured by the envious clouds, her sisters, and by her stepmother, the night. So she is Aurora, the dawn, and the fairy prince is the morning sun, ever pursuing her to claim her for his bride. This is the legend as we find it in the ancient Hindu sacred books, and this explains at once the source and the meaning of the fairy tale. Nor is it in the story of Cinderella alone that we trace the ancient Hindu legends. There is scarcely a tale of Greek or Roman mythology, no legend of Teutonic or Celtic or Scandinavian growth, no great romance of what we call the Middle Ages, no fairy story taken down from the lips of ancient folks and dressed for us in modern shape and tongue that we do not find in some form or another in these Eastern poems, the Greek gods that are there, Zeus, the heaven father, and his wife Hera. And then it goes over all the different mythological ones, which we'll talk about later. But it's just like showing you a snippet of the way that the whole story is written, and yet it's still written about night and day. The darkness and the light. Let's look at Little Red Riding Hood. What does that tell you based on the picture? Little Red Riding Hood represents the evening sun, which is always described as red or golden. Golden hour. The old grandmother is the earth, to whom the rays of the sun bring warmth and comfort. The wolf, representing the clouds and darkness of night, first devours the grandmother, wraps the earth in thick clouds. Then, with the darkness of night, he swallows up the evening sun itself, and all is dark and desolate. The The huntsman, the morning sun, comes in all his strength and majesty, chases away the cl- night clouds, and kills the wolf, and revives old grandmother Earth, and brings Little Red Riding Hood to life again. Same story, you can repeat that in the form of a season as well. So that would be the end of summer going into fall, going into Libra. That would be Little Red Riding Hood. The next one we're going to look at is Jack and the Beanstalk. So the story of Jack and the Beanstalk is to be found in old Hindu tales, in which the beans are used as the symbols of abundance, and in which the white cow is the day and the black cow is the night. There's also a Russian story in which a bean falls upon the ground and grows up to the sky, and an old man, meaning the sun, climbs up by it to heaven and sees everything. It is also possible that the beanstalk, which grows from earth to heaven, is a remembrance brought by the Norsemen of the great tree Yggdrasil, which is from the Norse mythology, which is really just the tree of life, which is really us. We are the tree of life. It is our it's our entire system. It's our spine. It's our nervous system. It's us.
I just find it interesting, like the way the beanstalk grows is like the Kundalini energy flowing, right? I love
Mhm.
that. That's cool.
So those are just some examples of some of the fairy tales that we've heard, and we're just going to look at some of the mythology from Greek, Kemetic, Vedic, and Norse, just to kind of get a little bit from each so we can again see the common denominator. And this was something that growing up, going to school, I questioned a lot, and I always questioned why in the hell we needed to learn about mythology. Like, if this was a myth, what is the big deal? Why do we need to learn about these people that never really existed and a cyclops with one eye? Like, what is the point? Until I understood the cyclops with one eye is the single eye for ourselves, and that each person represents one of the planets, or each god or whatever goddess represents one of the planets. Um, and each planet influences us. So once I started understanding that, okay, so they're teaching it. They don't know why they're teaching it because they don't explain that to us. But I can see why it's one of those things that, again, has been passed down for generation after generation. Everybody's heard of these mythologies. Yeah.
It's interesting because I was just asking my mom. I mean, I remember hearing of Cyclops, but I didn't learn it at school. Like, it'll be interesting which ones you speak about to see if I even know them, because I'm not sure going to Catholic school if they taught me any of that, because there was a lot of stuff in Catholic school that was left out of history books, that when my kids were at public school, I found out a lot of stuff and I was just like, wait, I didn't even know that happened. So it's going to be interesting. So
I'm not going to go into, like, for example, if I went into Greek mythology and started going into all like Zeus and this and this and that, like, we'd be here all night. So I'm naming just the top two, and those are the ones that you have heard about.
okay.
So, and if not,
But I probably heard them from you.
who knows? But we'll
You know what I
see.
mean?
We'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
Okay, first, what is a myth? I thought a myth was just a fairy tale. It was just a made up story. But what did these fairy tales just teach us? That there's something deeper that it's trying to tell us. There's some hidden something that it says. So I started digging, and a myth is not just like something that doesn't exist. It's a parable. It's an allegory. It's a dark saying, which means a myth is just a story that's being told to describe something that has more meaning, that is secret, that you have to dig deeper in order to find. So I put up these four scriptures because you guys know I love them, and they all are talking about parables, allegories, and dark sayings. So I want you guys to see which ones they are. Matthew 13:13. Let's go over it. Therefore, speak I to them in parables, because they seeing They seeing, see not, and hearing, they hear not, neither do they understand. I'm going to speak in parables. They don't get it. They don't understand. They're just reading it literally. They don't understand that when I say I'm doing this, it doesn't really mean I'm doing this. It means something else. But whatever. Galatians 4:24, which things are an allegory. You've heard that a lot. An allegory, we'll go over what that means and deeper later, but it's right there. Psalm 78:2. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old. Proverbs 1:6. To understand a proverb and the interpretation, the words of the wise and their dark sayings. Anybody know what a dark saying is?
That's the one that's like, I'm green with envy. I like you, let's go shoot the bull. It means like, let's talk bullshit or just talk, not like you're gonna literally go shoot a freaking bull.
So all these things that have been passed down that we know that they mean something else, but yet we say it as a way to communicate. And that is the way that it is all written. All right. Apollo. You've heard of Apollo, right, Michelle?
From you.
Apollo, like, what was the mission when they went, and it was an Apollo mission?
Yeah, that's true. Discovery.
So Apollo represents the sun, and Artemis represents the moon. So we'll start seeing just the sun and the moon here, how they come up and how they are illustrated in each of these mythologies. Kemetic, the sun represented by Ra, or Egyptian, and the moon represented by Khonsu. Look how they have the moon on above the head. We've seen these forever and ever, but yet why don't we just know, oh, it's the sun and the moon? Because it's hidden in plain sight, and we're just thinking that it's just pictures with stuff in their heads. No, this is the sun, this is the moon, this is Ra, because in Egyptian times, Ra was the time that represented noon, when the rays, Ra rays, were radiating at the most high. So you had um the rays of the sun at its peak. And so that was Ra. And then as it set, it was Set. So they had the brother Ra, they had the brother Set, and they had the brother Horus. Horus was the hour. What hour is it? What time is it? Where is Horus? So Horus was representing the beginning of the day. Ra was representing the middle of the day. Set was representing the evening, or going into the evening. And then Osiris was representing midnight. So these are all just representing darkness and light, time of day, day and night. Vedic mythology, the sun represented by Surya and the moon represented by Chandra. Again, we've seen them before. Did it dawn that this big radiating sun behind them had anything to do with the fact that they represent the sun? It's not that these were people with the sun always shining behind them. Like, it's just symbolism for what it represents: enlightenment. I am enlightened. I have my crown chakra is lit the fuck up, you know. Same thing with the moon there, right? That we see, and they're on the lotus flower. Again, this is all symbology. Norse mythology, the sun represented by Suna, hello, the sun. The moon represented by Mani, or the moon. Again, the sun behind them, the moon behind them. So that was just some Greeks. Allegories. An allegory is a story, a poem or picture that can be interpreted to reveal a hidden meaning, typically a moral or political one. Figurative language, description of one thing under the image of another. Light, light, light. I wonder what that really meant, right? We just finished talking about, or actually, we're going to be talking about after May. Um, we've already did the burning bush, but then we're going to start talking about the parting of the sea and all the symbology behind that. Um, there's Israel. Okay, so these are all, the east is the right, the west is the left. Camp your net on the right side, on the east. Okay, so now we're going to go into some stories. This is fun. Noah, let's get right into it. You guys have seen it before, some of you have not. Noah rises from earth to water, air, fire, moving up from matter to light in consciousness. Jonah does the same thing. So you have all of these stories of being drawn out of the water, as in you were somewhere physical. Now you're facing some type of water dilemma where you're having to stay in the water, stay in meditation, stay in a higher state of consciousness until you have practiced doing this enough that you have elevated or sent out a dove or married a female bird called Zipporah in the case of Moses here. Um, these are all representing going from water to now elevating to air, as in theta consciousness, as in Christ consciousness, as in a very loving place where you see things from a higher perspective. So there we see sun walking on water, the truth elevated over, or this being elevated over the truth, air, Christ consciousness. We see the pyramid here with the enlightenment at the top, same as we do here. The pyramid with the top cap that needs to be there, the eye. So we start seeing the familiarities of, see, the rainbow at the end of the whole thing. There's the rainbow because we have gone through the light spectrum and reached the light. So we've have the rainbow there. So what is this theme that we're seeing? We're seeing the sun. We're seeing our inner sun. These are our chakras. We are seeing our solar plexus. So we have all of this in the stories, and now we have them in the story of man. Man has a solar plexus. This is his willpower. This is the energy, not receptor. It doesn't matter what it is, but these are basically energy centers, and our solar plexus, our sun, is the light that we have within ourselves. And our job, just like nature does, where the sun rises and sets every day, we are to rise our inner sun, to be elevated, to be illuminated, to shine light and be enlightened like the rest of these sun and moon representations. Because why is the sun and moon being represented in every freaking story unless it's something about you? Okay. Um, so let's start looking at this. We have the same representation of the pyramid representing the queen and king's chamber. So the way that it is located, the exact precise location of each thing that has been built in this amazing place is the exact and same location as the temple in our brain, the location of where everything is in our brain. And if you were to look at not just the pyramid, but the entire whole structure of the entire place, you'll start seeing a lot of similarities to um, our brain being the temple, the sun and the moon. Again, our cycles, our seasons. Genesis 1, sun, the moon, for seasons, for cycles, for signs. They're for signs. King Arthur and the 12 Knights. How about that one? Who always believed that story? I'm going to pull that sucker out that rock, right? And there's King Arthur and his 12 knights. What does that say about you? This is always all about you, right? What does that say about you? This is pretty much our natal chart. This is you and all your 12 aspects of you. The story of the Last Supper, an astronomical allegory. Again, you have Aries at the front head of the table because this is the beginning of the year. Cosmically, it's spring, it's blooming, it's new birth, it's rebirth, it's life coming to again because it has died. So Aries, the ram, the lamb that takes away the sins, the cold, the winter. And so we begin with Aries. Taurus is, you could see all of their hand movements. Hold on, let me make it bigger. Gemini has his two hands like this because it's the twins. So you have spring, the first three together bunched up. Then you have summer, where you have Cancer, Leo, and then Virgo. Leo's pointing that Virgo is the only female there because it doesn't have an Adam's apple. And right there, and basically saying this is the only female in the zodiac, Virgin. There's the Holy Trinity, and then there's the sun in the middle, and then we have the fall, which is Libra. Again, you see the hands or the scales. You have Scorpio with its that's Judas, Scorpio with the tail, which can sting the sun on its way down in the fall. Basically, there is no more sun. It's getting less and less as we go into winter, where there is no fire. And Scorpio is the one that is going to betray the sun and sting it on its way down. Sagittarius, we have the last three being winter, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces at the end with its two hands up because it's the two fish. Any questions about that one?
Amazing.
Right? As above, so below.
It's so mind blowing, like being able to just discuss this and learn this. That's why, like, I love any time you discuss any of this. It's my favorite, most favorite thing.
Because it takes a while to sink in and to really take it in. And I mean, I don't know how many years it took me to like really, I mean, seriously, years before I was like, wait, oh, wait a minute. And we go through layers of it. I mean, Ashley, I felt like, you went through one of the layers where you're like, wait a minute, is this whatever? And I'm like, yeah. And then you'd come back and you're like, wait, is this whatever? And I'm like, yeah. And you're like, oh, wait, this is whatever. And I'm like, yeah. And you're like, oh. So that happens to us all when we're going through all this information because it's so deep, but we're looking at the connections. I mean, there's connections everywhere and their meanings. Like why is this picture so important? Yes, okay, because it's the Last Supper, but why is that important? Because there's more to the story. And they're just trying to tell us that in symbolisms. There's the 12 cranial nerves, guys. So this is where it comes down to us, where it comes down to, okay, we are the center of our brain, again, the pineal, and then we have the 12 cranial nerves. And these are responsible for our entire body and how we live and tells everything what to do and how to function. And it's the entire universe right there, the same as it is above. It is below. And so this sun that is within, this solar plexus, it has to rise. The problem is I'm not going to say we don't know how. As kids, we know how to do that. We are ourselves. We are lit the fuck up. We are excited. We're curious. We want to go play. Everything is exciting. We know how to raise that sun and shine that out and be like, that's why when we see kids, it lights us up and we smile because they're just so full of that light and you can see it. And what happens? We get programmed. We get more programmed. We get more programmed. We get this light sucked out of us, or not really sucked out of us, but covered to the point where we don't even know it's there. They've done so many studies and actually pictures of people in certain lights that how they do. We're not talking technology right now. And you can see their light, like their light in coming from their head lit up like through these machines, like the x-rays or whatever the fuck they are. Um, we're light inside the body, right? So because they cover this and they don't share this with us, that light becomes dimmer and dimmer. And then we become um this thing that doesn't know how to work itself, this thing that doesn't know about itself, that doesn't know it has these glands, that doesn't know how they work, that doesn't know that there's a seed that is born within you every month, and that is the chance for that seed to grow into that full sun that is going to then be lit and get even bigger and bigger and have this this fusion, this bridegroom, right? The son, the whatever, to have a female and male marriage or a chemical marriage that creates this power, this the third, that's the Holy Trinity. It's the electromagnetic, and that it creates this new thing. I mean, that's how new babies and creatures are, come into this life. It's from that. And so that is the power that we have, and yet it is dimmed.
So it's
So
all dim, and we just forgot how to use it. And if you practice, you'll relearn it again.
yes, exactly. That is the whole point. So it's remembering that you are light, that the light is within you, that all these stories, all of these things, the toroidal field it's you. This is the aura. This is your field, your electromagnetic field that goes around your body. This is I mean, if there's buildings and amazing mysteries in the world shaped in the same way with the same dimensions as your brain, and these same dimensions are written in the Bible as the temple, and you start realizing, wait, I am everything that is. I am just a copy, not even a copy. It's like um yeah, I mean, it's just a speck into a different body to have a different experience, but ultimately I am light, experiencing myself as light and dark in this world, and getting to experience the 7 colors that come with that, the full spectrum of life. So it's like you are light hidden within yourself. So therefore the mysteries of life, because it says seek first the mystery of the kingdom of God. Matthew 6:33. Where's the kingdom of God? The kingdom of God is within you. So if you're seeking for the mysteries of the kingdom of God and the kingdom of God is within you, what did I just say? Seek within yourself for that light, because that light is always there. It has been dim. It needs to be brought out. It needs to be revealed. This is all about, yes, the sun and the moon, but it's really about your lightness and your darkness. It's about yourself being your own hero, because sometimes we are our own villains and we are self-sabotaging ourselves, or we are wanting to experience something that brings us to the real darkness or brings us pain, but sometimes that catapults us into seeing the light. So it's like, be okay, be in full acceptance, go with the flow with the fact that we are in this space for time and space, for the pure just wanting to experience both light and dark. And so because we've been knowing this darkness for so long, we are here to remind you that you are light, that these stories are all about you, and that you just need to find yourself, know thyself. And then once you do, the truth will set you free. And you will be this
Our God.
amazing soul. You know what I mean? Like just out there. And these are just some images from the sun. The sun. Here's Nissan 14 is the spring equinox. There's the equinox and there's the wheel. This is the moon cycle. It's also our menstruation. It's also Humpty Dumpty. And then the Mason signs. They know what's up. Sun, the moon, and the eye. They know what's going on. So they put it in plain sight. And I want to thank you guys for being here, because now you are basically um, an extension of my light, because I am sharing it with you, and hopefully you can share it with someone as well.
Yay.
We are. We are God, right? We are God. We are the light. We are source.
Mm-hmm.
Experiencing life in different shapes and sizes.
Love it. You know, last night I was sharing with my mom about the sacred secretion and the moon and her sun sign and stuff. And so when it came up, she's all like, I'm glad you explained that to me last night.
Yeah.
And I've said little bits of it before, but it's like she really like and
It
got
hits
it.
different every time, every
Yeah,
time.
yeah. She got a like, oh. So now she's all like, I want the moon app that I have. But it was good because then you started to talk about like the seed being in the solar plexus and everything, that we have the power to then create and move that oil, that Christos, that Christ
Energy.
oil.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So
Yeah,
thank you.
and yeah, you're welcome. And it's like that importance of knowing and understanding the sun and the moon, and why it's important to know where the sun is at the moment and where the moon is at the moment. Because why do we have Easter after the moon is full? Because the sun is waiting after the equinox for his bride to be in full glory in white. That's why we wear white for when we get married, right? It's full when the full moon, that's when you have Easter. It's never, that's why it changes it's always because the sun is waiting for its bride. And then they have their alchemical marriage in the sky. And then they can produce, life. So we have that same thing within us. We have, yeah, because the sun and,
fertility.
if we don't know when the moon, when, like right now the moon is in Leo, right? So if I don't know that, I'm going to miss out on those sacred days of being able to produce the child. Born in the manger. Manger is the solar plexus. So all of these are just, right? Symbolisms, more symbols. Wasn't there a chart
Thank you
where
so
I
much.
showed all the symbolism?
And you have a picture. I was trying to explain to her that the story, like, the the story of Jesus is the same for other religions.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a picture of that. I don't know if it's handy for you to grab or not, but I was explaining to her that they were all born from a virgin, lived 33 years. So I don't
Yeah.
know if it's handy or not, or you can give
Let
it
me
to
see
me.
if I have it up, because I know where it is.
Okay.
It's all under my like syncretism folder.
Oh yeah. So
I've
she's
never heard
never,
that
she
one.
didn't know, like,
No.
but
Because
you
we only know
have
what
it.
we've been taught, and we've only been taught like the Christian stuff,
Yep.
Yeah. Buddy, okay? Or just showing them.
No, I don't have it here.
Okay.
So I don't know where it is, but um wait, is it under the basics?
I know I took a picture of it once,
No.
but I don't think I have it saved in my photos right now.
Yeah, I have it somewhere, but I'll send it to you when I have it. But it's showing you from years and years and years and years and years before. It's also showing you from all the different religions. And then people argue because they're like, oh, it's not the same thing, and there's these differences, but they're not looking at the similarities, because again, you want to look at what's similar, not what's different. I mean, there's going to be things that are different. Obviously, not every story is the same, but the root of it is the same.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Krishna is like Christos. It comes from the same rooted word, which comes from chrism, which is anointing, which is an oil. Christos. And if you want to even go further in the alphabet, okay, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T. Q, R, S, T. That's Christ. So that's light. Just like LMN is lumen. That's a female light.
Mm.
Just like in the beginning, A, B, C, D, abracadabra. That's male light. So you have the male light, the female light, and the child within
Wow.
the alphabet. It's all light. It's all different frequencies being described and expressed in different forms and different poems and different fairy tales and different stories, because it's all us, because we are made of the same light, because it's a fractal of everything. Isn't that
So
crazy?
cool.
Wow.
Yeah, I think you do explain that part in your syncretism, the words I think it was when you're doing the etymology, isn't it?
Girl, I don't know.
I think so. I think so. But I think that was because I remember seeing the abracadabra, but I
Oh,
didn't.
yes, with the letters. I think
Yes,
so. Mhm.
yes. Okay.
So many
I feel like it's
things.
been a while.
It has, yeah.
Yeah, so-
Any questions about anything? I know I threw out a lot. Anything
I-
that stood out or?
I was pretty amazed at looking at the Last Supper because I remember it from before, but I was like, oh my gosh, I need to zoom in and look at all that. I was trying to see everything, but that's mind blowing.
Well, and the
Especially with
more
the-
you understand astrology, then the more you understand it.
More.
But see, they
Yeah.
don't want you to understand astrology because then you'll start piecing it together. Stay away from that. You'll know the secrets of life. But seek first the kingdom. But it's not within you. It is, so it's just it's very confusing. And it's not until, even though it's been right there in front of our faces all this time, it's not until it's brought into our remembrance again, where we see it, that we are like, oh, and then more things start to open up. We can then see the connections everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah. So dope.
So,
The sun and the moon. And that's the male and female. The sun being the male and the moon being the female.
wow.
So
You guys think this is mind blowing. Wait till you do see the syncretism. And when she goes through the red
Yeah.
shift, blue shift, all is atom.
that blew my mind for days. I was dreaming of the presentation and my brain was like discombobulating, putting stuff back together, and it was like being blown. And I was the one teaching it. But because I had to present it, you're just working on the same thing over and over, and that's all you see. So it like really blows your mind. But yeah.
That definitely like went after watching that, man, everything I see.
Where is that?
Come on, red shift,
So-
blue shift, it's in Akasha.
It's in Akasha, so you'll have access to that pretty soon.
Yeah, you will.
Okay.
After the
I'll have to
retreat.
watch that, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool. Thank you so much, Joanna.
You're so
Thank you
welcome.
for always enlightening and empowering us.
Yep.
And inspiring.
Well,
Thank
because
you.
it's meant to not be fearful. You hear so much talk about, oh, like it's the end of the world and the fire and doomsday and all this
Oh
stuff.
my gosh, I'm so sick of it.
Right? It just puts you in fear of like this like evil
Yep.
God. And it's like you make it whatever you want. It's your experience.
Mhm. And when you and that's one of the biggest things, like in metaphysical meanings, when she goes through the apocalypse and the four horses, it's like once you know the meaning behind that, it's like, okay,
There's nothing to worry about.
exactly. It's like there's nothing to fear, It's all broken down. There's nothing to fear.
Yeah.
That's what's so cool.
Yeah.
Very,
Well,
very
have a wonderful rest of the night and weekend and everything. And if you want the replay just to have, I'll let me know and I'll send it to you guys.
I do.
awesome.
Thank you.
Yes,
And
thank you.
Larry, hopefully you can come to one of our things next time so we can catch up because it's been a while.
Yeah.
Been a while. Love you guys.
Love
Love
you.
you too.
Bye.
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 See you guys.